Hey guys, how's it going? It's Nick from Bling Productions, and today we're going to be talking about DSLR video shooting techniques. So, as you know, Bling Productions is a production company. We predominantly shoot videos. So this video is going to be tips and tricks for people starting out in video, especially DSLR. So we'll get right to it. Tip number one is tell a story. What makes a great video great isn't actually what you shoot with. Like you could shoot with an iPhone and get an amazing video, but what makes it great is telling a good story. So no matter what you're filming, whether it be an ad, whether it be a personal project, a vlog, it needs to tell a story and have that story arc, which means there's a beginning, there's conflict, resolution, and then there's an end. So when you're shooting, keep this in mind and try to follow this. So even if you have to sit down, script out what you're gonna do, this normally works best. Of course, there's exceptions to this. Videos like this where we're talking to the camera, it's a little bit different where we're doing an informative video and it probably wouldn't work if we had a storyline. But as I was saying, for vlogs, ads and stuff, you want to make a story out of it. Tip number two is lighting. So to take your video to the next level, lighting actually will accomplish that. It's not always the camera or the lens that you're using. So when you can, get lighting and try to shoot with soft light. So if you're shooting in the daytime in the sunlight, soft light, you can also get golden hour, which is the start of the day, the end of the day. And that's when the light's not harsh. Or when there's overcast, which means there's clouds in the sky, that's going to diffuse the light. If you have light that shines directly onto you, then it's going to look harsh and it's not going to look as nice as it would if it was diffused. Tip number three is understand your composing. So if you want to go into more depth into this, I've actually made a separate video just on composing, so you can check that out wherever I put it around here. But essentially, you want to follow some sort of rule of composing. That's an easy way to do it. So rule of thirds is an easy go-to. Center frame or leading lines is normally a good way to compose your shot. So to explain this a bit more in this video, if you break up your frame into a 3x3 grid, you want to line up your subject with one of the intersections or lines of that grid. Now again, if you want to learn more on that and just composing in general, check out the other video. Tip number four is background music. So in talking videos or in ads or in vlogs, there's always background music in the background, and what it does is it subconsciously sets the mood for the video. If you're talking and you've got nice piano music playing in the background, it gives a light and fluffy feel. But if you put dramatic music, it gives a different vibe to it, as you can tell right now. So choose your music appropriately. Definitely don't just slap on whatever you can find on YouTube that's copyright free. The next tip is understanding your exposure. So if you're new to this, you may be shooting in automatic, which means that you don't have control over the depth of field, the shutter speed, the ISO, and these are things you need to have control over, especially when shooting a video. So as we've talked about in previous videos, your shutter speed needs to be double your frame rate, ISO as low as you can get it, and your f-stop as low as you can get it to get that depth of field effect. And the last and final tip is use intros, outros, text. So this is more of an editing technique than it is DSLR shooting tips, but adding an intro into your video, even if it's just a pop-up of your logo, and an outro, which is also a pop-up of your logo, or maybe like an intro song and an outro song, and using text to explain frames or parts of your video that might be hard to understand, is a good way to make your video understandable, but also make it look a bit more professional. Another tip I would suggest is have some sort of form of stabilization. So whether you're using a gimbal, whether you're putting your camera on a skateboard and sliding it to get a nice smooth shot, or if you've never thought about it, using the neck strap as an extra point of contact to keep your video a bit more stable. Making your video stable and not shaky also makes it look more professional. And again, there's exceptions to that. If you're filming something that's supposed to look shaky for some vibe, then you can do that, but for the most part, you want to keep your video stable. And the next tip is motion creates emotion. This is actually one of the videos that I dived into quite a lot in a separate video. Essentially what this means is that sticking your camera on a tripod isn't going to get the best quality video. So whenever you can, pick your camera up, try to get some motion, try to do a push in or a look up, or even following the subject around. That adds more dimension than putting it on a tripod. So whenever you can, unless you're shooting a time lapse, try to add motion into your video. That's all for this video on shooting tips when you're shooting with a DSLR.